At 5 months pregnant, Nathan told me the company was going bankrupt. He cried and pleaded with me to enter the America's Most Beautiful Expectant Mother contest, hoping to win the $5 million prize. The result, the show pressed me into a red wine bathtub, treating me casually, and took intimate photos of me. Just when I was heartbroken, ready to quit the program, I was suddenly taken away by force by some unsuspecting people, causing me to suffer serious injuries. Even lost my child. In a daze, I heard Nathan and his friend talking. Isabella's side needs the placenta to make medicine. The child will also be given to her to raise. She has a new drama coming out soon. I'll definitely help her stay popular. I was instantly shocked. The heart felt like it was struck by lightning. It said that even the most ruthless person wouldn't hurt his own child. But in order to please his childhood friend, he actually used my life and my child's life to set up a trap. I should have known it would be like this. I am the daughter of the Anderson family. I wouldn't have ignored my family's opposition. I had to follow you to live a hard life. In front of the hospital bed, the pungent smell of sterilized water made me almost breathless. Michael listened, dumbfounded. You are not confused. Just for those unreliable claims. You don't even want your own daughter. The baby is already formed. In 4 months, you'll be a father. Why did you go to all this trouble to sponsor America's Most Beautiful Expectant Mother contest? And let your daughter-in-law suffer, Nathan said casually. According to our family tradition, we have to have a son first, before we can officially get a marriage license. So, Evelyn is not my wife yet. I only love Isabella. She's a bit delicate. She's afraid of pain. I'm not careful enough with her sometimes. For me, Evelyn is just an object to gain experience. If you feel sorry for her, I don't mind if you stay with her a few more times in the future, Michael said angrily. Do you think I will have no shame like you? 3 years ago, your business venture didn't work out. Isabella immediately sold the house where you got married. She left. Evelyn sold all her jewelry and bags to help you through. Sold all her jewelry and bags. She even went around soliciting investment for you. You can't forget her contribution. Take her money to take care of others, Nathan said unhappily. That's enough. I don't want to hear you talk bad about Isabella. Evelyn is willing to suffer with me anyway. I don't mind letting her suffer a little more. Who knows where she got all that luxury jewelry and bags? I didn't even care where that money came from. Who are you to say anything? You. This is outrageous. Michael was so angry with Nathan that he immediately broke off his relationship with him. The doctor, with a sense of justice, finished checking the room. He left angrily. It didn't take long. A crisp voice came. Isabella is wearing a pink nurse's uniform. Walked gently to Nathan's side. Hands quietly wrapped around his strong and sturdy waist. Gently shouted, Nathan, I didn't expect it at all. In order to help me find that kind of long-lasting material. Actually even willing to pay for your own child. When Evelyn wakes up, how are you going to explain this to her? Her voice is weak, with deep sadness and trembling. Nathan immediately hugged her tightly. Without hesitation, he said, Isabella, I love you. Even if you want my life, I'm willing to give it to you. At the beginning of the relationship, I always hoped he would say he liked me, but those 3 words seemed especially hard for him to say. Nathan would rather kiss my non-stop talking mouth, but he wouldn't say those words to me with all his heart. Nathan, your life is of no use to me. I just want you to care about me now. Nathan adjusted his voice slightly, making it sound softer. Isabella was very touched. She said softly, Nathan, the hurt in your heart, let me the little nurse soothe it for you. After they completely walked out of the hospital room, I just barely managed to fight my way up, slowly sat up. Victor, I know I'm wrong. I will never go against you again. And I won't go against the marriage arranged by Mom and Dad. I want to go home. Okay, when I come back from my business trip, I'll take you home in style in 3 days. After saying these sad words, I cried even harder. 3 years ago, I refused the marriage arranged by my family. I only wanted to marry Nathan, but he told me, according to his family's tradition, the woman has to have a son first, before she can get married and get a license. I was not happy about it, but I can't let go of him to me so good. So I reluctantly agreed to live with him first to try. I've always paid attention to birth control, no matter what. I was educated from a young age that I can't accept unmarried pregnancy. But half a year ago, Nathan's mom told me in tears she had cancer. Her only wish on her deathbed was to see Nathan get married and have a family, and have a child. I had planned to tell her I was the daughter of the Anderson family after the baby was born. I was going to tell her I was the daughter of the Anderson family. We plan to carry the child home together. Sincerely ask my family for forgiveness. However, their mother and son's tears instantly disintegrated the principle I've held on to for 2 years. All the difficulties in his career worked out well. At 5 months pregnant, Nathan told me again, the company was about to go bankrupt. He was worried about not being able to provide enough financial security for me and the baby. He pleaded with me that I must enter the America's Most Beautiful Expectant Mother contest. I was not interested in this kind of meaningless competition, but when I saw him pleading so sincerely, I couldn't help but soften my heart. Again and again, I went against my heart's resistance. I touched my empty stomach. It felt really ironic in his eyes. I was nothing more than an object to be treated at will. When he came back in the evening, he brought dinner on purpose. His eyes were red. He told me he made it all himself. He didn't look half smoky. There were still a few conspicuous red marks under his shirt collar. Before, I would always be impressed by this simple gesture of goodwill from him, but this time, I clearly felt that the flavor of the dish was familiar. Pearl Pavilion, a high-end private restaurant invested by our Anderson family. A meal there costs at least $1 million. New York City's high society often entertains VIPs here, but for Victor and me, it's just everyday. Victor said, "Evelyn, don't be sad. We can have another baby if we lose it. Nothing is more important than your health. Eat more." Nathan handed me the food with his chopsticks. Suddenly, he saw the half-bitten shrimp, stopped mid-sentence. The atmosphere between us became a bit uncomfortable all of a sudden. I could roughly guess. They went to Pearl Pavilion for dinner. Those prawns bitten by Isabella. It's the dish he specially packed and brought back for me. After a brief moment of daze, Nathan hurriedly changed his words. The prawns were accidentally mixed in when I tried them at home just now, he explained, while picking apart the intact-looking shrimp meat on the surface. Most of the plate was filled with half-bitten shrimp tails. Enough. I don't eat other people's leftovers. I was furious. A hand overturned the small table. Nathan immediately changed his tone to accuse me. "Evelyn, if it wasn't for your misbehavior, getting pregnant and attracting the attention of other men, we wouldn't have lost the baby. I drank more at home in a daze. I'm your husband anyway. Don't you mind it?" He rubbed his brow tiredly, said to me with a serious face, "There are a lot of things going on in the company. I still have to worry about you. It's already not easy." I looked at his skillfully flowing sadness. I was already crying so hard I couldn't speak. "Nathan, look into your heart. Aren't you afraid of retribution for saying such things?" He froze for a moment. He was at a loss for words. While the stalemate was going on, Nathan's cell phone rang. This time the ringtone was different from before. "Nathan, you just left not long ago. I miss you again." Nathan's expression suddenly changed a bit. His ears reddened all of a sudden. He whispered, "I am." He cleared his throat a little awkwardly. "You can rest for a while. The caretaker will come over to take care of you in the evening. The company has new business to talk about. I have to go first." Nathan stops at the door. He hesitated for a moment. A hint of chagrin appeared on his otherwise calm face, but in the end, he turned around and walked away. I smiled helplessly. He had trouble even making up a decent excuse. I heard it loud and clear. Isabella asked him to go to a special-themed hotel. The next day, I was walking slowly down the corridors of the hospitalization unit. Suddenly, I saw a familiar middle-aged woman walk by. She said, "That big boss with the last name Nathan hasn't asked me to act lately either. Next time there is a chance, I'll have to talk more about my financial difficulties in front of his wife. Rich people's money. It's always easier to earn. As long as I have a warm chat with that new daughter-in-law, I'll say some nice things. I'll make $30,000 to $50,000 easily. Auntie, what are you doing here? Aren't you so sick you can't even get out of bed?" She and I looked at each other. Both were very surprised. Her smile suddenly stopped. The original smug expression froze on her face all of a sudden. I stood in place, looking back and forth at her and her family. The pregnant woman standing next to Nathan's mom glanced at me with a very disdainful look, then said to Nathan's mom, "Mom, let's get out of here. Don't get too close to people like that. She went to a beauty pageant with a big belly after she got pregnant. It's also rumored that she played with Big Boss in the bathroom. I don't want me and my child to come across something unclean." I held onto the wall of the hallway. Gritting my teeth, I asked word for word, "You're not Nathan's real mother. He's the one he purposely sought out to lie to me." Nathan's mom's eyes were averted. Keeps backing away, pushing me away with force as everyone watched. "You've got the wrong person. Pregnancy is your own business. It's nobody's business." When she realized she couldn't get any more money from me, her face turned ugly. She said, "Our family is a decent family. Don't slander us. You're pregnant and you're still so restless. You'd better stay away from us." In the maternity ward, more and more pregnant women and their families are casting curious glances. All kinds of accusing voices are coming from around. "Oh, she's the one who had to earn that $5 million. The pregnant woman who had a miscarriage. I heard that she was playing around in private. Cut. She's really too much. My husband was looking at her pregnant belly photo in the middle of the night last night. He thinks I have stretch marks from my pregnancy. He thinks I don't look as good as her. You guys see, she lost the baby. It's fate. Pregnancy is not supposed to be easy. They hype themselves up like this. It always triggers more strange needs. It's such a bad culture." I fainted amidst a chorus of contemptuous voices. Nathan had clearly told me before. He had paid for those photos, and also guaranteed that not a single one would be leaked. But why did he lie to me again and again? Every time I realized Nathan had lied to me again. I look forward to leaving him for good. I dragged my weak body. It was hard to get home. Accidentally broke the clay doll Nathan gave me. I suddenly felt a little ridiculous. He took Isabella to Pearl Pavilion to spend money. He spent millions without blinking an eye. On my birthday, I was pregnant. I got a hand-me-down gift from him. When Nathan came home at night, he took the opportunity to say, "Tomorrow we're having a class reunion at Harmony Estate. I'll go with you to relax." I didn't want to get into another argument with him before I left. I reluctantly agreed to his request. That night, Nathan naturally took me into his arms. I made the excuse that it was too hot, broke away from their pull. Ostensibly, he brought me here to relax. It was actually Nathan trying to throw a pickup party for Isabella. I walked into the farm's vegetable garden, purposely avoiding the loud crowds. Nathan kept circling Isabella. He was busy. Isabella's plate was piled high with peeled crabs. Like a mountain, she pouted, finds a reason to go out for some air. He slowly walks up to me, scrutinizes my pale face, then asked, "Taste someone else's saliva. How does it feel?" "Evelyn, you're such a loser. If only I'd been a little nicer to Nathan. Even if you had a baby, you'd have to lose it too, being accused in that way. Do you feel good inside?" I looked straight into her eyes full of anger. "You're not particularly famous in show business. A little bit of capital can make you quit. And Nathan is not a very rich and powerful family. He can't protect you all the time." She clenched her teeth, eyebrows raised, tightened her grip on my neck in a victorious manner and said, "Originally, I didn't care who Nathan was going to marry, but anyone, only you can't." I really didn't understand why she had such deep animosity towards me, when I couldn't help but ask. Isabella's delicate eyebrows immediately became gloomy. "To blame, you can only be blamed for being too appealing." It was hard for me to find a chance to get close to Victor. As a result, there are pictures of you and him all over his home and office. I was so angry that I grabbed her hair, raised my hand to hit her. Isabella's eyes rolled. A sarcastic smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Your daughter's placenta does taste good. Your husband used you as a transit offering, gave it to an older man, just to get a prime-time slot for my new show. Evelyn, even if you act like a golden lady, your husband still has to please me, treat me like a toy." "That's right. When are you going to have another baby with him? I promise. I've already found someone to take over your next child." Slap. I immediately raised my hand and slapped her. Angrily, "How could you stop?" Isabella leaned softly into Nathan's arms, to everyone's eyes, as if I was bullying her. "Nathan, I was just trying to comfort Evelyn." But she said she wanted to find a big shot in the entertainment industry to shut me down. "You know that too, Evelyn. Before I met you, I had a good life. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation were all very elaborate, not something an ordinary orphan could afford. People who don't know the situation are starting to talk. No wonder her pregnancy photos have been circulating all over the black market lately. It turns out it's to attract big shots." Isabella is fanning the flames on the side, crying her eyes out. "Did Evelyn have to be locked up in the basement so she can be with Nathan?" Nathan's eyes darken. "You're doing this. It's a disgrace to my face. When you figure it out and stop messing around, then you'll come out." He came over to me, pushed me hard. I didn't have time to dodge. My feet slipped. I fell straight into the darkness. By the time I realized what was happening, I had already been pushed into the basement by Nathan. Harmony Estate is a farmhouse-themed estate. A long time ago, I'd heard there was an old basement here. Now, I felt a sharp pain and cold surround me. The air smells of damp, moldy earth. straight to my nose. My whole body hurt like hell, could only curl up, trying to keep what little warmth was left in my body. I wiped away my tears, looked around, this gloomy basement. There was no cell phone signal at all. Vaguely, I could still hear the clamor of barbecues and dancing above. I screamed desperately from below, getting Nathan to let me out. He looked over from that penetrating light. His face is grim. If you don't apologize to Isabella, you won't get out. Haven't I been lenient enough with you? If I hadn't taken you involuntarily, you worked in the clubhouse before. How could you lead such a decent life as a rich wife now? You still want to go out and find someone else to deal with Isabella. It's all because I've spoiled you to the point where you don't know what's good for you. It's time for you to suffer a little. Understand what it means to be peaceful. I look surprised. Nathan, I just had a miscarriage and you're doing this to me. The baby was yours too. How could you do this? He didn't see the problem in my words. He was just upset about me bullying Isabella. Then he was busy opening oysters again. Isabella's sweet, soft voice mingled with the squeaks of the mice in the basement. I felt a number of small, sharp claws gently rake over me. By the faint light above me, those furry bodies reflected an oily sheen. After adjusting to the darkness, I was able to see clearly. A group of rats were silently staring at me. I was so scared that I scrambled, hurrying to climb the humble stairs, desperately trying to escape. Suddenly, the wooden staircase made a creaking sound. It instantly breaks. The sound of everyone's happy footsteps came from above the basement. The window that let in a shimmering light had been closed by Nathan. I was left alone in total darkness. Couldn't see a thing. I couldn't figure it out. Nathan, who had cared for me since college, he would do something so cold. The cold dirt walls, the cold bars of the iron gate, the sound of a lively party overhead. At the moment, it was piercing my heart like a knife. I had a dream in a daze. In college, an agency came to our school to select dancers. A competitor secretly put lily powder in my glass of water. As a result, I was allergic. I didn't make it to the audition on time. I spent more than a month to prepare the results of my practice, but I didn't have a chance to show it. I digested my loss alone in the small garden behind the school. Later, at a chance volunteer event, Nathan himself set up a beautiful stage for my event. He brought a group of excited and curious kids with him. They ran up to me with gusto, yelling, "Evelyn, we want to learn to dance too, you teach us." After graduation, I became the children's dance teacher. I didn't go into show business. There was a burst of laughter from over the railings. Nathan has kept Isabella in his heart all these years. Back then, in order for Isabella to be successfully selected by the agency, I even bought lilies for her. I shrunk into a ball, heart numb, hearing the sound of teeth chattering. Original, the sweetest early days of our relationship, turned out to be Nathan's elaborate deception. I opened the hidden app on my cell phone, found the emergency button for family distress, gently pressed it. After a night of indulgence, Nathan returned home smelling of alcohol. A group of personal bodyguards in designer suits surrounded him. "Are you Nathan? Do you like to invest in contests that target pregnant women to embarrass them?" Nathan said while holding Isabella in his arms, skillfully avoiding the vigilant gaze of the bodyguards. "What are you guys doing here? Who are you guys?" He carefully recalled everyone he could think of in his head, but he still couldn't understand which important people he had recently offended. The well-trained bodyguards didn't give him another chance to speak. His incisor was hit hard by a steel fist. Blood immediately gushed out. Isabella was so scared that she backed away, but she was suddenly yanked back. He grabbed her by the hair, forcing her to watch with her own eyes as Nathan was punched and bruised all over his body. Nathan was beaten to the ground. "Keep shouting that this is a society of law and order. To call the police." The bodyguard in the lead was in no hurry at all. Sitting across from him, coldly smiled, appears to be unconcerned. "Okay, by the way, check out the matter of the Lucky Charms. Let's see who's unlucky in the end. We are professionals. We'll make sure you're in good shape. It's still a minor injury." Nathan had $5,000 in damages thrown in his face. He just reacted. What kind of people he had really messed with. Two middle-aged ladies dressed in full Chanel pushed their suitcases out of the bedroom. They said, "Missy's things are all packed. Not a single hair will be left for this kind of person." After everyone retreated one by one, Nathan just suddenly realized. They called Evelyn Missy. He suddenly reacted, hurrying to rummage around the house. Bedroom study looked all over. Sure enough, everything related to me was cleaned up. Not a single trace was left. He suddenly realized. Last night, I was so busy. Totally forgot that I'm still in the basement of Harmony Estate. Nathan ignored Isabella's obstruction, rushed back to Harmony Estate. His mind was filled with all kinds of crazy thoughts. Who the hell am I? How come there are suddenly so many bodyguards who seem to be worth a lot of money? Emptying everything at once. He had a particularly good time last night, until everyone was gone. Only then did he gleefully go to the hotel with Isabella. His heart was beating hard. Nervously, he walked to the basement door. There was no one in the farmhouse. It was quiet all around. He felt an indescribable fear. I stood at the basement entrance, softly shouted my name. There was a breeze blowing in his ears. It made the dark basement seem even more eerie and cold. His voice shivered. "Wife, I got you out by accident yesterday. If you're still in there, just answer me, okay? Honey, you were alone in this place last night. You must have been scared. Honey, there were a lot of people at home this morning. They seem to have something to do with you." Suddenly, a big foot kicked hard. Nathan was like a ball, rolled over, fell down, through the gap between his waist and stomach. I clearly saw his panicked expression. I stood next to Victor, face pale, draped in a small fleece blanket worth $1 million, a coldness in his eyes. Victor stomped his foot dismissively. This was his usual habitual action when he stepped on something dirty. Seeing this scene, my eyes instantly warmed up. You just for such a person not going home for 3 years. He seems to be of average ability. Neither can he protect himself, nor can he provide good living conditions for you and your child. There was a sharp cry from the basement. Nathan made an effort to climb up, only to be beaten down again and again by the bodyguards with inflatable sledgehammers. It was like they were playing a game of whack-a-mole. Joyfully, Nathan shouted shrilly from the basement, "Evelyn, I've just apologized and admitted I was wrong. Why do you still want to join the others against me?" Before I could say anything, Victor reprimanded impatiently, "Don't argue. What you did to my sister. I'll treat you the same way. That's fair." Victor waved his hand. The bodyguard brought in 2 breathable buckets. The cauliflower snake curled up in a ball inside. Although I know the snake is not poisonous, the flavor was also good, but it was still frightening to look at. The snake was dumped in with a clatter. A sharp howl came from the basement. It was like the sound of a pig being killed. He shouted, "Wife, I was wrong. You let me out quickly, I promise you. When we get out, I'll talk to Isabella for you. You can have as many kids as you want. I'll support you. My mom has cancer. You promised her before. You promised her you'd give her another grandchild. I can't stand his hypocrisy anymore. Stop it. You lied to me. I ran into your mom at the hospital. Her daughter-in-law's about to give birth. Nathan, you've been lying to me. You've been lying to me from the beginning to the end." Having said that, I felt a little weak. I gently leaned against Victor. He stretched out his strong arm to hold me steadily. "Let's go. Dare to bully my sister. I won't let this person off easily." We turned around and left, just walked out of the small vegetable garden. Isabella threw something at us. "Victor, why would you rather choose a woman who is already married with children? But not me. From the moment I stepped into acting, I've been working hard, just to be qualified to stand beside you, to be your woman. How can she stand beside you? You are the youngest master of Carter family." Victor ignored his overtures. The bodyguard reacted quickly. A handful of them subdued her backhandedly. I don't have the strength to argue anything anymore. Victor noticed that my legs were shaking, couldn't even stand up, so he directly picked me up. He said, "I told you, don't mess with my sister. How dare you put rats in the basement?" Isabella's eyes widened in anger. "How could you let Victor hold you? He's mine. Isabella, he's mine." My brother couldn't help but laugh at her unreasonable words. "You think that after acting in 2 of our company's short plays, you can just approach me? Don't even think about what level you are at." Victor has always been a gentleman. To be able to make him so angry that he said those words, it means Isabella must have done a lot to annoy him. Throw her down too. Tell those 2 after 3 days. Only one person can be saved. As for the other one, stay in the basement and feed the snakes. I fell asleep in Victor's arms. This time, I wasn't scared at all in my heart. Instead, I felt safe. My last name is Anderson. It's because after my parents divorced when I was little, I followed my mom. So I changed to my mom's last name. After that, Mom and Dad each had a new family. Victor and I both became a burden to each other's new families. When my stepfather cornered me, when he behaved excessively towards me, my mother pretended not to see my pain. Victor learned from his schoolmates that I was not doing well. He had just started middle school, paid for a couple of upperclassmen who liked to fight. They directly surrounded my stepfather on his way from work. Later, I was picked up by Victor. We lived together in the old Carter family house, dependent on each other. We craved the attention of our family, but we could only take the high pocket money given by our parents, taking care of ourselves, watching them take their new family's kids to the amusement park for parent-teacher conferences. We also want this kind of care, but can only watch enviously from the sidelines. Victor was busy studying and earning money. I hide in the corner where no one notices, always feeling sad and inferior. Maybe that's why Nathan's little bit of concern can make me moved. Smelling the familiar woody scent on Victor, it's as if I'm seeing the cycle of destiny. For the past 3 years, I was looking for the so-called true love, suffered a lot of injuries. Now, I don't have the courage to love anyone anymore. Victor looks at my listless appearance. He was very dissatisfied in his heart. He handed me another thick booklet, said, "You have time to read it. Think about how to make this nameless village develop some green industry. Every day for men to make themselves physically and mentally exhausted. Is it worth it?" 3 days later, I was resting in the VIP ward of New York City's best private hospital. The bodyguard sent a video of the basement. I saw Nathan's face in shock, yelling and screaming like he was out of control. She's just a girl who sells liquor at the club, barely made it through college by befriending rich men. How could she be the daughter of the Carter family? The bouncer said coldly, "People like you who are scared out of their wits after only 3 minutes. You are not qualified to ask about our missy." Victor said, "I'll only give you 1 hard bun a day. Which one of you two eat?" Me, Nathan. "I'm your favorite. Can I have this bun?" "No way. I remember you to stay in shape. You can't eat buns. It's better if I eat it." Nathan said it in a serious way. He caught the bun at once. He swallowed it in a hurry, afraid that Isabella would take the lead. But in the blink of an eye, that hard, steamed bun pinched his teeth. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The heart is especially angry. Isabella was starving. Grabbed the rest of the steamed bun when he wasn't looking. Slowly nibbled on it. She said curtly to the bodyguard above her, "Big brother, can you give me some water to drink? As long as you give people a cup of clean water. Pull people up. What do you want? Anything." A line of whatever you want to say is particularly moving. The bodyguard didn't care what she said. Nathan raised his hand and slapped her. "How dare you flirt with another man in front of me? Just for this little thing." He looks like he's never seen Isabella like this before. His face was full of surprise. The snake at his feet had already eaten all the rats in the basement. Now it was spitting its letters around them. Isabella was slapped hard by Nathan for the first time. She could no longer pretend to be gentle, immediately changed her face. Coldly, or else what? "If it wasn't for you not handling your wife's business, how could I because of your problem? Being embarrassed in a place like this?" Nathan said with a pained face, "If it wasn't for you, why would I go through all the trouble of counting Evelyn? If it wasn't for being confused by you, I would have become the son-in-law of the Carter family. Even if Evelyn was a bastard, I'd still be able to enjoy all the glory and riches." I watched silently as they blamed each other. Shifting the blame, they fought to get the bodyguard to pull them up. All those so-called feelings and love, all of it had vanished at the moment, when the only chance of escape was in front of them. The pleasures of the past seem so superficial. It's just a short-lived pleasure between a man and a woman. One is greedy for vanity, one addicted to lust. My eyes kept surveying the cauliflower snakes. Compared to the night I was trapped in the basement, these human-bred snakes were more intense than the night I was trapped in the basement. These snakes bred by humans are docile, would only scare them. This is Victor's new farming project to help farmers in remote mountainous areas to start a rich people's cooperative. I always don't understand why Victor doesn't do those clean and decent movie and TV investment projects. Instead, he wants to engage in some strange and weird rich people's agricultural products. Now, I probably understand. Compared to material and physical enjoyment, he cares more about other things. I should go after something more meaningful. I hired the best criminal lawyer in the business. I also seriously investigated the America's Most Beautiful Expectant Mother contest after it was over. What became of the pregnant women who won the award? Victor's bodyguard team included professional detectives. Every time I treat dinner at Pearl Pavilion, the manager would always reserve the best seats for me. On those quiet nights, I sometimes dream of a large group of mice. I adopted a civet cat. Whenever I have nightmares, it would sleep with me. It wasn't until I really learned to take care of myself I realized The umbrella after the rain, the takeout when working overtime, those warm words. I can take care of it all by myself. Why always lower your standards again and again for Nathan? 6 months later, I frequently went to Chicago to collect evidence. After many searches and reports, I finally made progress. In the 3 years that Nathan and I dated, he privately helped Isabella find a lot of resources. 3 ladies who won the America's Most Beautiful Expectant Mother contest had an unfortunate accident after the contest, resulting in early labor. Of the grieving women before me, some are divorced. Some have lost the chance to have another child forever. Some of them are planning to have another child. They all had unrelieved hurts in their hearts. I looked at them. Tears blurred my eyes. I felt the same pain in my heart. There are some things, the deeper you get into it, the more disturbing and frightening it becomes. Whenever I feel frustrated and want to retreat, I'm reminded of that heartbreaking pain. I don't want Nathan to help Isabella hurt any more people. I want them to get what they deserve. After the case was officially filed, I realized that there were quite a few marketing numbers online fabricating my so-called Black history. Those unpleasant contents were quickly deleted. Subsequently, Isabella's shady dealings with some bigwigs behind the scenes were also revealed. Her complicated past was also completely exposed. Although Isabella's face was blurred, but I still recognized her appearance after her disguise. She had expected to see netizens harshly criticizing me, but it was not to be. Not only did she not get what she wanted, instead, she got herself into trouble. During the live broadcast of the public apology, she was taken away by the police. At the same time, Nathan's company also officially declared bankruptcy. There was no need for me to personally intervene. There were just collaborators trying to find ways to get in front of Victor. They took the initiative to approach him, trying to make a good impression on him. Power and money can really make people new. It's very effective. When I saw Nathan again, we were outside the Chicago courthouse. He'd cleaned himself up, followed exactly the advice I'd given him in the past about what to wear. Things that I used to think were pretty good value for money. Now it looked shabby. I just stood in front of him, just naturally exuded a noble air. He came forward excitedly. "Evelyn, I love you. I love you with all my heart. You and Isabella are so much alike." I was confused. I recognized the wrong person. He came over excitedly, wanted to hug me, but was blocked by the bodyguard. He went on to say, "You used to say, as long as I upset you, I'll hug you and you'll be fine. Can you forgive me, just for the fact that I was also in the basement for 3 whole days before I came out?" I was really just fooled by her. He kept confessing. I didn't even care, just wanted to hurry up and finish the case at hand. Unexpectedly, he kowtowed one after another in front of everyone, crying like hell. All those ideas that were unfavorable to the pregnant woman were Isabella's. "You want to take revenge, just go to her. Evelyn, as long as you're willing to turn back. I'll do anything for you." I smiled, curious. "Really? I'll do anything for you." He seemed to see a ray of hope kneeling in front of me. His eyes were shining. He said in a particularly sincere tone, "Wife, as long as you nod your head, we can go get a license anytime. And my mom, she worked hard to raise me. Now she has breast cancer. Her days are numbered. She really needs her grandchildren to give her some moral support now." I looked at his tear-stained face. I felt very uncomfortable in my heart. I said coldly, "Since your family wants children so badly, then go to hell and find them," while I was being pressed into the bathtub and bullied. "But you were secretly plotting against my child's life. I met your mom, who claimed to have cancer, at the hospital. She admitted herself that she was an actress you paid. Isabella humiliated me in public. How did you handle it? Not only did she give me leftovers, she pushed me into the basement. Nathan, I'm going to settle these scores one by one." I waved my hand. The bodyguard immediately pulled him away. "Keep him away from me." His voice was filled with deep remorse as he cried out in pain. When the court's verdict was announced, I saw a gray-haired, middle-aged woman hugging him tightly, crying so hard she couldn't speak. I noticed that the two of them looked quite similar. This should be Nathan's real mother. But all these things are irrelevant to me now. The day Nathan and Isabella were arrested and sent to jail, the contest known as America's Most Beautiful Expectant Mother contest was also forced to be suspended. All the staff involved in the event were taken away for investigation. After Chicago's business was done, I went to the nameless village for research. I found out that this place produces a kind of wild grape with different sweet and sour flavors. The frosted grapes are carefully blended. It can produce a wine with a rich flavor. I built a small winery with the young people in the village. Many parents who work outside the village come home for the new year, discovered that there were job opportunities in the village, and decided to stay in their hometowns to participate in the construction. I slowly understood why Victor was willing to spend time with those cauliflower snakes in the village, just like me. Also like to go up the mountain and pick grapes by hand. Besides making wine, I also like to try to grow a reddish berry. I slowly found my new value in the sincere smiles of the villagers. Instead of pestering a man who doesn't love me, I'd rather go out into the wide world. When I returned to New York City with the wine and berries for New Year's Eve, Victor had brought home a girl with an elegant demeanor. I noticed a faint blush on his usually cool face, and I was heartily pleased. I thought, I should meet more new friends. The gloom has passed. It was time for me to pull myself together. It's time to move on.